every video that I start going forward, y'all are likely going to see me light up. I like setting things on fire. But I've become so sensitive to energy lately. I really have no choice. Like it's out of hand. Like I was having a conversation about my mother. Then she wrote me. I was like, ah, shit, she heard me. Like her gifts must be coming in. So said something to 211 about it. And he was like, well, maybe your gifts are getting stronger and people are responding to what you send out, right? So a different time, I was praying, like, dear Heavenly Father, there was just some stuff bothering me, right? As soon as I get done my little prayer and I'm feeling better, because you should always feel better after prayer. That's how you know you sent it to the right sender, the right receiver, right? Uh, my dad texted me like, everything good down there? I'm like, okay, well, that's handy, but it is not handy when I'm like trying to sleep because I can feel when I need to wake up, like because somebody needs me, and it's so annoying because it could be like a client, and I'm trying to take my nap, and I'll be like, hold on, who is calling me? And I'll see my phone and it's something petty. I'm trying to sleep and somebody comes in the room, I can't do it. When I'm doing these readings, they take me so long to get out of my turnaround of time, is what it is. Because if anybody is in the room with me or just put something in my queue, like in my mind, I can't channel clearly with other people's frequencies coming towards me. So when I go to do this, I'm clearing other people out of my field. Like I tell my daughter, she's like, why can't I just sit in there when you're doing your readings? I promise I won't say anything. I'm just gonna watch the TV. No, baby. You could have the TV on mute. I'm still gonna pick up the waves. If you were thinking about something, especially in connection to me, like if she's sitting over there, like I want food or something, I'll feel it. It'll mess up what I'm doing, right? Whatever's on the TV. And I think it's probably because I've been doing the frequency training thing I was telling you guys about. Remember the YouTube channel is the Sound Healers, but you can learn to frequency train yourself. You sit with something, see what messages come through, see how the message shows up in other ways during that day so you can like sort of understand how the flow is going. But I've been doing that for a few months now. And so like everything is like and 3:33 is on the clock. But my daughter, she's smart as hell. She learned to take advantage of it. I'm like, I wish I hadn't told her about that stuff, right? So she does this thing where she like put her hand on me when she wants something. And I don't think she knew she was doing it. So I had to explain, honey, even though you're not telling me that you want something, when you put your hand on mommy, I could feel. That was wild, right? That was just a cloud going over the sun, but like, mommy can feel you tugging on her energy, babe. Like I can feel what you want. I can tell you what you want. So please don't do that because it gives me anxiety when I'm picking up on other people's energy all the time, tugging on me. So what does she do now? Is that better up there? Now when she wants something, she doesn't say anything to me. She'll come put her hand on my shoulder, or she'll go like this and she'll just stare from where she's at. And I'm like, damn it. Mayora, I didn't tell you that so that you could abuse that gift in any way, shape, or form. So I went to try to explain to her because she's about to turn 13. This is my youngest, right? She turns 13 this year. That her gifts are about to start coming in. And when I was trying to explain to her, like the stuff in a childlike way, sort of like what I teach y'all here, she was like, say less, Mom. I'm not dealing with that. And then she walked away. I said, so you're not going to deal with your gifts when you come in? Mm-mm. She said, I'm not. I canceled it. So welcome to my life, right? So today, guys, this is going to be a long one. We're getting into some Martian history. But of course, I have to ground it into reality. So I got to tell you a whole bunch of stuff ahead of time. But it is my belief that everything I am telling you guys will help you better understand how to take this very spiritual info and ground it into the 3D and see how everything like sort of plays out. So some of this is ghetto. Earth is ghetto. Earth is like the hood of the universe. So that's appropriate. But I feel fairly sure, and I'm looking because I had to write down everything. So I stay on track with what I have to show you guys here. Trigger warning, because I don't know what's going to come out my mouth. I am channeling and teaching. This is definitely a learn with me video segment, whatever. So, to begin, so my boyfriend Ken. After a while in the spiritual journey, you sort of make your way through like every book, every reader, every channel. And it comes a time when you just want to feel like a muggle, a human again. Like, just let me be normal. Let me do some normal stuff. So my normal stuff came when I found Ken. Ken, my boyfriend. Right? So I started seeing suggestions for books on my Instagram. And I forgot how much I used to love to read. Everybody hated how much I used to read when I was younger. Because when I read, I don't talk to anybody. I am enthralled in my books. I am enthralled in the storyline. I can do it all the time. I love to read. So when I was younger, it started with like, there you go reading again. Go play outside like the other kids. Or changing the genres I would read or trying to block what I was reading because my ability to take in information was above like elementary, middle, whatever. So I'd be reading adult books like Stephen King and stuff, just little me. And my dad was like, mm-mm, mm-mm. So the last straw for me was when I decided like, hey, and this was middle school, maybe I've been doing all this reading because I'm supposed to write. Maybe I have some of my own stories in my head. And I did. I had a lot of them. I wrote all the time. But unfortunately, I had like a evil stepmother. And I used to put passwords on my stories because, I was reading Stephen King. Some of my shit was going to be wild. She's like, what do you spend all your time writing? And I was like, just stories. She was like, come on. I need you to unlock your story so I can see what you've been writing. Just to ruin my life. She was such a bitch. So that was the last straw for me. I did not go back to reading the same, and I did not go back to writing after she made me remove my passwords from my stuff, and then she tore my stories apart. And all my inspiration in that area just disappeared. Didn't even realize it until I started seeing the novels go by me on Instagram, right? So there were so many books that I ended up adding to my little queue thing, my little screenshots, that I decided that I would get a Kindle, right? That's when Ken came into my life. And we've been inseparable ever since. Now, my relationship with Ken first started with like spiritual books, but I got burnt out. And that's when a different genre appeared. And it was romance, but it was like Twilight romance, right? And so it's been a year of me and Ken being heavily invested in each other. And the books have gone out. It's out of pocket. So I went to go, and you'll see, I got the book on March 20th. I'm already done. I'm on a new book. It's just how I read, right? But when I went to this book, beginning of Aries season, I think that's the first day, I went to go add it to my library, right? I'm gonna show y'all this shit. This is me being vulnerable. So I didn't mean to add it at this moment. I'm about to show y'all my library. So I'm in my library, like, yes, about to go through my stuff, right? So it started, and I just released some. That's right. So it started with my Orion books. Where's my Merlin? I just took a whole bunch out, guys. But anyway, so it started with all my spiritual books, but then after a time, I started like going through all of these. So as I'm looking through what books are in here, like, hold on. I got a 30 days to overcome a toxic relationship, but then all my books are like dark. So after that, I was like, ah, shit, I'm the problem. So I went and got this one, right? That have been sitting on my shelf. This is Learning to Love. Because clearly there was something I had to reset within myself if all of my strange like books and things I didn't think about were dark. It wasn't on purpose. I didn't even notice that that's what the collective on my books was till I went to go clean it out on the, what was that, the 30th? Now it says the 26th because I just made a mistake and borrowed it again. But guys, so I'm reading this book, which is about an insane asylum, right? This psychiatrist girl comes into the insane asylum and there's this patient like that nobody's supposed to be able to treat. This is like the second book I've had like this. Like, well, this is a concurrent theme, right? But as I'm reading this, he keeps calling her kitten. And I'm like, something about that is triggering me. Like that's just his nickname for her, right? So how does this work, right? And excuse me as I'm working through this because I'm still like, what? So sometimes I'll like do stuff away from my phone just because I'm like, you get signs everywhere. If you're really a sign and not the algorithm, let me try some things away from my phone, away from devices. So I'll go in the bathroom, play with my hair, whatever. This is the example here. I went, played with my hair, and when I came back to my algorithm, I think this is the right one. Hold on. It'll be something like, or this particular day, it was this. Right? And I'm like, well, that's weird. Not only was it the soulmate of your dreams, but the I want to hold your hair thing after I literally just came out the bathroom from playing in my damn hair. So when you have a spiritual spouse, as I call it, right? You have a partner that you are not with in the physical yet, but y'all have been together for many lifetimes and your astral bodies already know each other. These parts of yourself exist as waves, frequencies, not even like visible bodies and stuff. If you would like to think of it like a body, you can think of Peter Pan and his shadow. Think of Peter Pan's shadow sending me messages. That's the way I've started to look at it. Like I'll be in the bathroom and unaware, and then I'll see something like this that lets me know, like, hold on. That's the same feeling I got when I started seeing that kitten thing. Like, hold on, something about this is familiar. Now, guys, there's an asteroid kitty. I don't have my phone so I can look up the number. But when I started feeling like the kitten thing was trying to remind me of something, I looked it up and it was in my first house. When something is in your first house, you embody this energy. So I'm like, hold on, I am somebody's kitten. I am somebody's pet. And I'm just like, no, something about this is bothering me, not kidding. Like, right? So guys, that's when our story is going to start to connect for you guys. I have to show you a good couple things. I'm about to hide this panel up here, just the meeting control because it gets on my nerves. Because the same thing that's happening to me is happening to other people. And it has to do with the life that you had before you came to Earth. Like that was the way that the storyline was designed. So whatever was your final big moment in whatever planet, galaxy, universe you were in, right? That was the starting point for what happened here on Earth. Eden was not the first place we were. Atlantis was, and I explained that in another video that I made like a month ago. They tell you the story of the Garden of Eden as the beginning because that is when this new game that we're currently in is. The game that started with Adam, Eve, snake, right? You are descendants of the snake, or you are a son of Adam, because when he pulled her into the back of the garden, he knocked Eve up. Eve came out like, hey, let me show you this cool thing the snake showed me. And she got knocked up by both. I don't even know if that's actually written in the official Bible, but it's written in the lost books of Eden and many other places. A lot of the information that would have changed the way that you think about things, especially religions, which are faith traps here, another video, would be, your outlook would be completely different if you had the whole story. That's why you don't get the whole story. So this book came out, what, November 28th, 2024. That's another thing that really gets me. It feels like all the books that were like coming towards me just came out within this time frame that I needed to understand something. So now we're going to get into masculine energy, right? Men are from Mars, period. That's where the male species came from. The feminine energy was a part of Earth. Earth is a Venusian planet. It was all female at first. The guys were up on Mars doing their thing. Noticing this pattern in my books and how I was going to fix this, I got through a couple chapters. I'm taking my time. It seems like the healing ones are way harder to do than the ones that are showing you cycles of whatever time you was a kitten and shit are easier to deal with. It's like, I guess maybe you're more familiar with your trauma than you are from healing. And keep in mind, if you're still going through your karmic cycles, you have yet to heal from whatever the trauma or whatever the thing that keeps you coming back here is. So I was like, I have to fix my relationship with masculine energy in order to heal whatever this is that keeps me in the dark romance trope. Now, keep in mind, I would not say that any of the books, is that right, Aisha? Hold on, let me think about it. I was about to say, are they toxic relationship or are they just dark romance because the guy is all moody and hates everybody but the girl? It's a mix because some of them are kidnappers. All right, it's just bad. My relationship with masculine energy is bad. And I did not realize that until I sat and started going like this. So let me pull away from the screen. Y'all, I got to sit on here for the whole time. So I'm like, okay, Aisha, but you got to talk to your star player like that sometimes. You got to talk to yourself. Aisha, are there any patterns you have not been noticing or trying not to notice? And so the Jeopardy song goes off like, every guy I ever was attracted to or dated was gay. Gayish. Like NSYNC. I love Lance. On Heroes, I had a crush on Siler. Every dude I ever liked ends up having sugar in his tank. So I'm like, okay, so what's that about? It turns out my core wound is attached to, can I say straight? I don't think anybody's 100% straight. Aquarius, which is the sign for humanity, is kind of gay. All humans are sort of gay. Sexuality is on the spectrum. I don't think anybody is straight. But the unfiltered masculine energy that has not integrated its feminine, the energy where the male is more dominant, freaks me out. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize it. I didn't think about it. But like every dude I never dated or had a crush on was going like I like them more when they're so I decided, because of this, you can't have something that's unhealed and you just let it go. It's going to continue to cycle around. So I decided that for Aries season, I am going to take my time to learn more about the masculine energy. I'm going to look at masculine feminines, which I never realized rubbed me the wrong way. Like I have a hard time with women who are like, right? Like, calm down, man. Where's your feminine? But that's not my business, right? So I had to make peace with it. And I'm going to watch stuff like Joe Rogan and other interviews. And I'm going to try to watch sports. I have to, I should have got a bow red. Understand the masculine energy as it is, unfiltered, not drag queens, not RuPaul Drag Race and all that other stuff that I found comfortable. I had to be okay with not being comfortable for what's next. Like watching a group of guys sit at a round table and have a chat without thinking, ugh, men. That's a problem. And I didn't consider that could be the issue at all. But this is being brought up so that y'all can think like, dang, how do you really think about the opposite sex? What are your true feelings about that? And how is that showing up in your relationships? Because that is going to be a big deciding factor in what type of mate you end up with. Are you dating or seeking or pairing from your trauma or from your healed self? The only way you can heal is through understanding. Knowledge is power. So I am going to be watching through a non-judgmental, I guess is the way to say it. I guess so. A non-judgmental view of masculinity so that I can recalibrate my idea of masculine energy. This is probably going to change the way some of my readings and stuff get done, but it's for the better because I cannot be a clear filter, a clear conduit if there are some angry, angsty feelings still inside of me about masculine energy. There's no other way to say it. About Martian energy. Men are from Mars, right? Mars traditionally ruled Pluto and Scorpio energy. Like they go together. Martians came up with sex. Martians came up with the physical body having these private parts so that sex was a thing. These rings that we wear, right? When you are putting this on, this is the finger that represents a direct like line to your heart. So when you put a ring on, you're actually giving that person consent to your heart, to the energy in your heart. This was something that the Martians actually came up with. Guys came up with getting married once they realized, hold on, you need both energies to survive on Earth. We need wives. So they sort of did like a snatch and grab thing. And that's in the Lost Books of Eden, where Inky, the snake, as y'all call him, and we'll get this is gonna come full circle by the end. Please rock with me to the end, or you're gonna be amazed. This is some good shit, right? Told all his homeboys, like, hey, so the females have the energy that allows them to create and thrive here. We all need to get one of those in order for us to survive down here because we blew up our planet. That is actually how marriage began. So that means that the first official marriages, the ones that are outside of the person that you were just born with celestially, the divine partnerships that are just like birthright. And when you have a divine partner or you have like a birthright person, you usually meet them around 14 because it's going around a cycle. You keep redoing the same script, different cast, right? So the other one that comes along is your actual spouse, the one you married, the one you did vows with, for better or for worse, because the first time it really was not your choice at all. And you have been working with this particular soul time and time again to get to the point where you're not mad that you got kidnapped and you've been stuck with this person. And this person actually learns how to love because the Martians were missing the element of love. That's what made them so violent, what makes them so mean. No heart energy. Martians were created separate from source as per their decision. They did not have any source light in them. So when they came across these beings in the other galaxies, or I'm sorry, in the other planets that still had that source energy, that were able to do telepathic things or to create with their mind, they were like, no, we got to find a way to get that energy in us. So the marriage process actually started on the moon after all of the most powerful royal bloodlines and scientists, people who had the ability to be warriors, all just the best of every bloodline were compiled on the moon. And then they were experimented on and merged, bred, if you will, breeding colonies, or you can call the moon a breeding colony, in order to get the draconian, which is another name for the Martian, draconian reptilian DNA mixed with these other beings that had God in them to further their bloodline. So this is where I am going to be officially starting today's lesson. I know I wrote down the asteroid. Let me see, guys. Hold on one second. Because I tried to prepare as much as this in advance because I knew it was going to be heavy. A long lesson, but I think well worth it. So I am looking for the asteroid Draco. Okay. So first and foremost, we're gonna have the screen turned around for the rest of this. I don't know. We'll see. So you can spot if somebody has been altered by the draconian army through their chart. And I'm going to be teaching y'all a good couple ways to tell. Chiron Falls. Okay. So not only were the best of the best throughout the galaxy cloned, bred with, experimented on, altered. There's a scene in one of the Resident Evil movies. And if you're into all this stuff I'm talking about, you're probably a Resident Evil fan, where you see that there are like a million Alices. Even if, how about this? If you watch the movie Alien, they talk about how many times they multiplied Ripley, just trying to get one that would be whatever they were experimenting to achieve, right? That's what happens up there. They're trying to figure out how can we merge these two and still keep their source energy in there, but also level up our Martian bloodline. So I talk to y'all all the time about 211. It's the dude, I guess technically I'm still married to, right? But we're like besties. I just have to get my guap together to officially do the divorce thing, right? So this is Draco. Wherever this is in your chart represents your relationship with the draconian army, right? If you have it in first, you are embodying that energy, right? If you have it near Chiron, that's your wound. That something happened to you with those guys. But I'm going to specifically explain from this one. I've been talking about, I've been in this relationship. I'm trying to get out. I don't know why I'm stuck here. But every time I try to leave, I feel compelled. He got mad because I called him a handler. Like, you were my handler, right? Until I was able to actually show them, like, no, bruh, you are my handler, right? So notice that his Draco is at the 22nd degree in first. This makes him, it is in Aries too. Remember, anything in the first house, that's where your Aries energy is. That's where your soldier energy is, your fighter, any of your tools in your arsenal. And whatever happened to you during your first incarnations here, or like your base blueprint. So Phallus is your big turning point, something that changed your storyline, a twist of fate, if you will, right? His change occurred when they captured his ass and turned him into a soldier. This was the original like partner that I was born with, like a brother, which is creepy down here, but up there it's just like whatever. Notice that his south node, which is your starting point, is at the 22nd degree, and his north node. His sun is also at the 22nd degree, right? Also notice that Zeus is at the 22nd degree. Anything that is at the same degree is all feeding into the same funnel. It's the same energy, just in a different place. Everybody has a different configuration, and I'm noticing that with charts that are encrypted or hiding identities, they will be more energy going between the degrees as opposed to a conjunction right next to the name or whatever, just to find out who somebody is. So I've been talking to y'all for years about a spiritual husband. Like I noticed him in my dreams first, couldn't see his face, right? But then after a while, like a series of events led me to figuring out who it was in person. When I went to go do the synastry, yes, I named him that guy. That name, which I do not speak of, right? Wrong type of chart. When I went to go put their charts together, after all that, I was like, why? Because this should not happen when you're interested or dating anybody, no two charts should be super duper mirroring, if you will. When I put the charts together, I was like, why is this guy a copy of the other guy? Their blueprints are almost the same, but just a little bit off, right? These, I'm going to say blueprints, these records are the passports for our soul's journey, right? Our souls are kept in a hall of souls, is what I'm getting. And this is what I'm channeling to you guys now. Like there's a blueprint for everybody. Pretty much Inky, or you can go by his name as he was in space. Inky is who he became when he got down here on Earth. Before that, when he was the head of the Martian army and copying everybody and pretty much copying your blueprint and putting you into a computer so that you can be reproduced over and over again, his name was Samael, right? So Sam put everybody in his system so he could alter their designs. You can look at this as a DNA test too if you want to. I'm about to take my earrings out because they're itching me. Your identities are in this, like who you actually are, whether or not you are cloned or a bot, because the earth got permeated with duplicates of the original souls that got captured. The original 13 families or 12 tribes that are mentioned in the beginning of the Bible, the 13th one is the one that started kicking everybody's ass. They are the ones that don't belong here. I will call them the White Walkers. And don't be particularly offended by that because there are two groups of Caucasian. One that has been around like for a while, and then there's a new group, if you look it up, that their DNA just appeared over the last 3,000 years. They're a new group. It's like Caucasian beat, but those are the ones that are the problem. So anyways, right? I was trying to figure out, why is this a dupe? Why is it the same dude? I don't understand. Y'all, I'm going to take y'all on a journey and then I'm going to come back to this. So everybody has a different energy signature of a particular, I typed in the name, a particular god, goddess, person on the pantheon. You got cloned from the greatest, if you will. You could be a actual embodiment of that person, like you could be a head or you can be a hive. This is why certain people were drawn to like Oshun. It's because you're like a clone or a daughter of Oshun, right? This is Beyonce. I'm going to use this as an example to help you better understand what I was trying to explain with my own situation, which will help you better understand your situation in the rest of this lesson. So this is Beyonce. I'm using her as my example today. She came up twice in my first video too, because it's the easiest way that I can break it down for you guys. So Beyonce has a strong Hera signature, right? Y'all know Hera. So when something is at the first, 13th, or 25th degree, you are an embodiment of that person. You are a copy, a clone, a hive member. You are some way connected to this. See, she has Hera at the first, right? At the 11th degree, that's a copy, right? Her partner, Zeus, is at the 19th degree. The 19th and the 7th degree are energies that belong in your 7th house, your partnership house. So in her life, what does she have to deal with? A dude that just keep cheating on her and she just fine up in the castle for no reason, right? That's the storyline there. So I'm going to show y'all something else that's sort of wild. Before she got with her husband, she was with a guy named Lindell, right? Lindell's chart mirrors who's? The guy that she ended up marrying. Among those Greek tales, there is, I'm about to spell this all wrong. There we go. There is a dude named Ganymede. I'm gonna show like the least creepy picture ever because it's just really a creepy story. So once upon a time, Ganymede was out minding his business, being his sexy self in the field, and Zeus saw Ganymede. He had never been particularly attracted to masculines before, but something about this one was a little pretty. So what did Zeus do? In his bird form, he decided to go down, grab this beautiful human, and make that his man bay in the house. Hera had told him there were no more females allowed to work in the castle because he would just fuck them. He just can't stop himself. I don't know why. Right? So Ganymede sort of became an addition around the castle. Zeus's do boy, if you will. Now, if you would look at, I put Lindell on the outside and Mr. Carter on the inside. Note the Ganymede connections here and the Zeus connections. I'm gonna go back now. I was looking. The dude I married is on the inside, right? The other guy's on the outside. And I've been with this person for over 20 years. And the problem I had the whole time was that, yeah, he liked me, but sometimes I'd be like, he liked boys more. And I never had a problem with him being bi because I was just rocking with guys who like guys. We like to look at guys together. It's just like our pastime, right? I came to his chart and I was very confused. And I'm going to show y'all maybe just by his chart alone. Because I'm like, he has a glamour on. This design is not his original design. Y'all see Ganymede up here next to his Neptune, right? Any planet that is next to your Neptune, that is at a Pisces degree, like the 12th or the 24th, or in the sign of Pisces, is a cloak. You are hiding something. You are possibly hiding in an identity. And in this case, the identity of the person that I have been sitting with is actually that of Ganymede. The part that took me out here, right, was that if you go and look at the other guy's contract, who does he have a deal with? Ganymede. So if you are somebody who has a Hera signature, the partner that you have chosen has two forms, right? You're dealing with Jupiter, you're dealing with Zeus. You will notice that he has two asteroids because he is a dual entity. We have H42, which you can see right here at the 22nd degree. And then we have the one that's 5731 for Zeus, which is another version, right? That's a dual thing. Guys, the Ganymede character will meet you earlier in life to keep you locked into place until Jupiter clears his karma. That is, can I say Zeus's curse? Okay, so the long form story that got cut off, and it's like fables and mythology are the gossip from the people at that time. You don't get the full story. You don't even know what tea is. It's like, imagine the story of Beyonce and then the elevator got changed millions of years later, and like Solange got beat up in the elevator or something. I don't know. Just something different happened. The story is not the same. So the story with Hera and Zeus is they're married. He's a whore. We don't know what happened to the gods. They just disappeared. That's not actually what happened. Zeus broke Hera. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. She committed suicide, jumped out of a window. After this, the love that was sustaining Jupiter, because Martian was the original origin, right? This incarnation that I'm talking about right now would be considered the real first incarnation after everybody came down from Mars. After the guys came here and took over, the Greek, or the ones you call the Greek gods, were in charge. So his love sort of waned away over time until he digressed into the being that we know as Pan. So pretty much Jupiter went insane, partying and drinking because he didn't have love to hold him down. And then all the gods descended, because what happens when the king of the gods descends? For this reason, every incarnation of Jupiter has to go through at least 36 years of making up all of the relationships they had from all the other like situations, I guess that's the best way to put it, before they even get a chance to come across Hera and to fix that gap. All right, so you see here, my Hera is at the 25th degree. I told you, when something is a part of your energy signature or you are carrying one, it's at the 1st, the 13th, or the 25th degree. Where was my North Node? My compass is everybody's compass, is what you're pointed towards. Ganymede, right? Just to be held into place until the other one finished their karma. That is the same thing that I was just showing you guys with the contract between, or the charts between the man that she married and the man that she was sort of dating and saving herself with until the other one came around. Look how close their sons are, guys. It was already wrote into the system. It was already done from the soul computers. I am just reading you guys the computer blueprints. The ones who are creating the charts were the humans. I'm going to pretty much say the Greek gods. That's y'all know them as Greek gods, but another way to explain them would be like the fallen angels or the watchers are in control right now of the computers and who is being printed out and how many people are being, do I want to say created? I think created is the best way to say that, right? So once I figured out, like, hold on, because it was bothering me for a while, like, this is not my husband. I know this is not my husband. There are several things, like, I can remember stuff, like, super specifically. Like, I used to have a collar, but that was, like, during the moon colony time, but the collars were a sign of who you belong to. Once we got down here to Earth, it wasn't collars, because remember, every incarnation, y'all get a different name, your memory's wiped, but you live out the same storyline in a different flavor. When I became his wife down here, he didn't get me collars, but there would be special jewelry or necklaces that he would buy me, but they would be ones that I could only wear before sex or only he could see me in. Like, there was specific jewelry. Like, this is how pinpoint my memory is getting because of this playlist that I put together. Let me show you guys, because y'all are gonna need this. Now, my memory was coming back in on a regular basis because I was doing past life regressions, just videos that allow you to go back to stuff. But when I found this woman called the Goddess of Keys, right? She had a whole freaking playlist of unbind yourself videos. As y'all can see, I sat through each and every one of them. Now, not only do I remember the necklaces, I remember little stuff like I had to have my hair up around other guys because he'd freak out about my hair around other guys because there's something about my hair that like he really like loves. And it's like all my stuff, he just wants to keep to himself. Like, don't smile at nobody. Like it's a whole bunch of different rules just because he'd be getting jealous and like, right? So I did all these to myself. And I think that was part of the reason that I was able to discern finally after years of trying to figure out why these two guys have a similar chart. Like, why do I feel like drawn to this other one more than the one that I've been with all this time? He was just a placeholder. He was meant to like keep me away from other people until old boy was literally done using his member to heal everybody that he had come across and hurt from other lifetimes. Like all the other relationships weren't made to last. They were just there to give him a chance to fix. And let me show y'all this. Right? To fix or even say anything to the wife he may jump out the window. Notice North Node, the compass, where you're headed, Hera. Now this is that one, right? the one I've been with. He was routed to me to keep me in place. But same thing here. His contract to pay back all the debts from all the other relationships was the end. Like he had to go through all of them and learn a lesson about not giving up love or the importance of love. So he had to gain it a bunch of times and lose it until he realized how precious love was because he took it for granted, which is why his wife jumped out the window. So here I am, an echo of a storyline, right? Note, this guy's North Node conjunct here. Just wanted a chance to talk to his fucking wife again. Like, I am so sorry. I fucked up, right? So I'm like, if this unbinding thing works for me, I wonder if it'll work for him. So I started without even telling him any of this, right? A long time ago, he did the foolish. I'm gonna say foolish. I would never do anything to hurt him, but he was like, as long as you're my wife, you have permission to do whatever I need for my healing. So I was like, bet. I started doing these, right? And I noticed changes in his behavior. Like he walked in one day, right? And he stopped and he's like, you trying to leave me? And I was like, what? I gotta stop this. His gifts are starting to come back. Another example, he was playing Sims. And I'm getting tired of the fucking Sims. I don't want to play. I'm gonna go outside and do stuff with my magic, right? So his game kept restarting itself. It kept shutting down. And he stopped and he looked at me. He said, Aisha, leave it alone. I was like, what are you talking about? How could I possibly be messing with your game? He was like, it runs on an magnetic field. You're messing with the field. Can you please stop? I was like, all right, whatever, bet. I knew I was doing it, but I didn't know he knew I was doing it. I didn't need that type of negativity in my life. So I'm like, all right, he's starting to remember. It's okay if I sort of fill him in and let him know what's happening here. Me doing these unblockings on him and actually having conversations and explaining, because like surgery, when you are working on somebody spiritually, the activation works better if you explain to them what's happening to them and what's coming off. So I'm going to run this back now because I got to show you the synastry here. Go slow thing. Sheesh. So I always put the older person inside. And I swear all of this is going to be relevant to y'all at the end. You're going to understand something you might not have got before and be able to correlate it with your own stuff. So I am on the outside, right? My healing energy, make this big again, which is your Reiki in your chart. 1585, I think. Although that might be Union. Don't quote me on that. Just know Reiki, right? Is your healing energy, where you have the ability to heal yourself or others. I have it in Aries. That means I'm naturally a healer. Hence this job, right? But my healing energy is right next to his Draco in the turning point. This whole time, I was being given an opportunity to do exactly what was in that freaking book that I didn't understand that I was being reminded of. This is Psyche, guys. Psyche is number 16. It is your soul, your psyche, your consciousness, but it is also your ability as a, did it not show up? As a psychologist, right? My psyche is on his Chiron, his wound. In this case, his wound was amnesia. It's in Gemini. When you have Chiron and Gemini, part of your wound is that you're missing a twin and that you have amnesia, right? My ability to psychologically figure out what is wrong goes next to the wound that was throwing him off. And my healing energy is meant to reverse what was done after he was captured so that he can step into his energy because he's actually a healer himself. Right? This varies. The first and only thing I was able to really notice that made a difference between him and the other guy, I'm just helping Ganymede. He hates that shit now that I know who he is, right? Oh, my alarm, y'all. Hold on. All right. It's when somebody has their psyche in your first house, that is your therapist. That is your psychologist. And I was sent to the other guy, the soul body of the dude that's talking to me, so I could help clear his amnesia. My Reiki energy, my healing energy is supposed to be, or was supposed to be, his turning point. Like, I was sent to wake him up because he's important. Your psyche goes beyond what you can see in the body. It connects to your past life memory. And in this case, it would ironically appear, or maybe not so ironically, that I was a psychologist for a very, very long time. And my number one patient is the guy that has a soul bond to me because, right? So when I explained this to 211, because that's his birthday, I needed him to understand that you made a swap. You agreed to take the bad karma from the dude that made me jump out a window, just because that's the storyline I'm living, right? Every person has a different piece of the storyline depending on like which god or goddess they're playing out karma for. You are playing out a possibility. You are playing out this god or goddess just trying to get their story right and make it to happily ever after. Everybody's going to have a different variation. You see, Beyonce's is in the front of the world. I just sit at home all the time because I'm the Herod that decided to not pop up and give him another chance. I'm the one that was supposed to be teaching him a lesson about how important love is. Now, the contract he has, I didn't realize what he was till lately. This Usher song kept popping up, and I was like, oh, that was his contract or the curse that was put on him. The song is called Will Work for Love for All My Life. Because he destroyed the love that was given to him, he had to learn the value of it in order to get it back, right? So notice how Ganymede is also the psychologist for Zeus. So he agreed to take his spot, to not have to deal with the difficulties that came across or with all of this, which would allow the other one to clear out his karma and then pop back up one day like a hero. Like, look, honey, I am not a whore. I don't do all those things anymore. I am a better man. Just all in the hopes of one of the teams, one of the pairs of Hera and Zeus, making it to the end without him breaking her, bottom line, without him breaking the soul of Hera, because that energy is in every single feminine, right? So because of this, his Saturn is in the 8th house. That is a debt. He owed a debt from another life, right? The life that he owed from was the life of Jeffrey Dahmer, right? So I explained, I was like, dude, you had 15 life sentences stacked against you. So pretty much you made a deal with Zeus that he would clear your debt off and you would be able to go free as long as you kept his wife in place until he was ready to retrieve, right? This would clear the 15 lives that you took. Now, keep in mind, it sounds messed up, but the reason that Jeffrey Dahmer killed those guys is because in other lifetimes, because he is a masculine carrying feminine energy. If you have any feminine energy here, you are like a target. Like, it's so hard having the Holy Spirit in you around here because it's a commodity. So even when you are a dude that's carrying it, you're a target. So for many lifetimes, he was abused in this way. And during that life as Jeff, it's when he got revenge. Either way, you still got to pay the piper. So I mentioned this to him, like just trying to prod his memory, because now I know, oh, I'm in psychologist mode. I've been everybody's psychologist while they were in hell or going through cycles. This is my job. So he looks right. And he paused when I said, I'm like, you had a contract that was on your head. And the thing you had to do in order to fix this was to just like bring me to the dude that's actually supposed to be with me. Let me go. You did your job. He paused and he was like, I got a contract on my head. I'm gonna die, right? He like freaked out. And I was like, oh my gosh, you get it. So guys, let me show y'all this. This is Nipsey Hussle's contract, right? Notice how 211 or Ganymede's contract is Saturn in eighth, right? Nipsey's Saturn in eighth, right? If you don't complete what you're supposed to do, if you have a very specifically Scorpio, Saturn in the eighth house, right? Your life is on the line if you don't do what you're supposed to. Like, no, your person will either be killed by one of the other draconian dudes because you're technically a soldier, or something will happen with your body where it expires. Like, Saturn is in charge of time. If you don't do what your Saturn contract dictates, time up, right? So after I said that, I ain't been having no problem trying to explain anything to him, which leads me to the next part that is going to bring all of this together for why this is important to you and your guys. We are all playing out different characters, different hives of different energies. I'm just happen to have the Hera one as the example I can explain to you guys. And if you are somebody who has a strong Hera, first, 13th, 25th degree, Hera conjunct ascendant, Hera conjunct sun, Hera in the first house, you had to deal with this variation. And it seems like Jupiter just really made the blueprint so that there would always be one guy to hold you in place so he would have time to get his shit together. I don't know how that's going yet. As y'all can see, I'm still here talking to y'all, right? But Inky's army came back into play after I started doing the unbindings. I was like, okay, so y'all were modified. If you go on ascensionglossary.com, there is a tab, and you got to hit search on here for Inky's army, right? So it says Inky here, but I feel like if I say Lucifer or Samael to you guys, it'll be a bit more easy to understand. So on a regular basis, this is the tree of life, right? This is the path of severity. This is just like the regular road. And this is the easy road. This is the one that usually has Jesus right here. When Samael, in charge of the Martians, or Inky or Lucifer, whatever you want to call them, took over this grid, took over the tree of life, he put blockages on the middle road that's just like, I guess you could say medium, and the easy road. So the only roads you have to get back home up here to God are hard roads. It is the same system that created the Pluto and Mars energy or placements in your chart. Pluto is your trauma. Your trauma was put in there to turn you into a particular type of person or to re-trigger whatever programming was put on you in the first place. So you could have been a nice person your whole life, and then suddenly this one thing happened, and then your shit switched, but it's because there was always something put on your soul for this to occur based on a trauma that you don't even remember. So for the guys, the messed up thing is, put this, because I gotta make it easier. The masculines, the divine counterparts, or the beings that were going to be male when they came down here, were altered. And you can read this all yourself in a way that you can like reformat your head. I'm going to give you the easy one because it's like sort of long. They split or decapitated the masculines right about here so that their upper heart doesn't connect to their head, and they're not actually able to connect to source. What they're hearing is an echo of their own ego, right? This creates narcissists. You can't see anything but yourself, and you can't feel. Oh my goodness, let me pause this. That's my little bit. Coming. I'm coming. All right, sorry a little bit. I'm doing the video. Go on about your business. Love you. Okay. So it creates somebody who can't feel love, somebody who is starving for it. They don't understand that they're starving for it. A lot of times they might think they have it, but they don't. But this connects to the guru or black magician. I'm going to call it a program, if you will. And keep in mind, think of your brain as a computer, a library even. You have your main character up here, all the things that you know about yourself from this life, your ego self. But behind that are other versions because of what was done on the moon. Wild as it sounds, you'll start to see things that back this up, what I'm saying to you after this, because that's just how it works. Once you become conscious of it, the door opens and you can find out more. So these guys are willing to trade pretty much anything for fame, wealth. And the main thing that they are asked to trade is love, because that is the thing that the main being lost, if you will. Sorry, I got thrown off a little bit. I told y'all when other people's energy interacts with me, it throws me off. So these guys typically are very intelligent and they have all of the components of somebody who seems like they're an awesome person, but they're missing the heart. That's where you see the traditional narcissist, like he has it together, good job and all that stuff, but he can't be taken seriously in love because he'll never treat you right. It is extremely painful for technically your divine partner, because that's the only people that this program was put on. The other Martian people are just who they were. They took the partner that was your original partner or the one that was in Christ energy, and they put this program on him so that he would not rise back up to Christ. So he is spiritually decapitated. And in order, say, look, no higher heart development. I feel like I need to read this top thing to you guys. The perfect candidate for Inky's army is a typical guru type or black magician. Those that have the ability to manipulate consciousness and technology, right? Which is sort of kind of what I was telling y'all I was able to do because I was fucking with his game. So many attracted to this energy signature are soul groups that have extensive spiritual trauma leading back to Nibiru, that's that ninth planet, or I'll just say the moon for you guys to make it easier, and forced genetic modification with Anu and Inky genetics. Narcissism, vanity, pride, self-entitlement, superiority, polyamory, lack of accountability, no responsibility with little to no emotional development. Empathy and compassion may be mimicked in words, but not genuine because there is no higher heart complex. So they decapitated or separated the heart from the head so that the being can't actually fall in love, that you end up leaving the one that was your original person because they're damaged, and you go with the other the other one because that one looks like the right one. Now, the gag about the draconian mate that you would have had or that you like have as a backup is that is only the shadow version of your divine counterpart. If the shadow is able to heal and to integrate light, think Pinocchio, think how Pinocchio had to gain a consciousness, then that would turn into your divine counterpart. It just now has mastered the shadow. The divine counterparts, right? They have to heal their higher heart, which is a mother wound in this lifetime. So whatever their status of their relationship with their mama, if they got an issue, that's the thing blocking them from learning how to love. This blocks them from their halo. This is a whole nother program or deviation, modification I'm hearing to make sure that their halos also wouldn't come back on. So they took all the angels pretty much and inverted them so that they had a harder time getting back to their angelic selves. I explained this to 211, right? Because let me show you all the transits. Everybody's 12th house is activated with the North Node right now. So this is everything about your past life, your karma, your lore. The 12th house is also usually the house of endings. Game over, board being cleared, right? So now that he understood what was at stake, because I've been telling him, like, yo, my spiritual husband keeps threatening to off you all the time. Like you were supposed to give up your spot. He remembers now. He remembers. So I'm like, the North Node is next to Saturn. Contracts are being called in. The other guy was supposed to be my dude, but he didn't show up. He didn't reach out or anything, right? And I'm like, well, that would be really weird that I'm just out of a contract. Like, that means I'm free. I can go where I want to. You telling me Draco husband is not coming back to get kidney? Ain't no way. From the bottom of my heart, I was like, ain't no way I got away like that. I can't even fully remember all of the circumstances, but in my deepest of deepest souls, I'm like, ain't no way I just got away like that, right? So the North Node pulls stuff together, pulls stuff into fruition, right? When it's going through your 12th house, in the sign of Pisces anyway, because Pisces is stuff dissolving. Whatever's in the house that the North Node is in is going to be developed, right? So the North Node runs backwards. It's going to go this way. I was trying to explain to him. I said, so he had a backup for a backup, which is why you're pretty much a dupe of the other dude. This is not even actually what you look like. It's like you're wearing his energy signature so that I would always listen to you because I am sort of, and this sounds crappy, programmed or paired with the other guy. In the meantime, you sort of had my controller. Like if I'm a genie, you had the bottle, but you were holding the bottle for the other dude because to that one, I'm just gonna snap. like I snap into place. Like I had to go do like little spy missions. And I was really surprised by my own reaction having to do this. Like the first time I saw him, I'm not the type of person that sees anybody and it's like, oh, you're attractive. I'm very sapiosexual. It has to be mental. There has to be a conversation. But literally 211 had to like pull me because I couldn't move my feet trying to leave out the location where I went and saw the guy because I was stuck and I couldn't figure out why I was stuck. But you have an unexplainable magnetic attraction to the one that has been your husband all this time through a hella trauma bond, right? So this development that is occurring is releasing all the programming, which is why I got signaled to do the unbinding, but it is in order for him to prepare for his heart to be healed. This is where the main issue is coming in with the guys. I'm noticing a bunch of people that are getting their divine partner, but they're like, he a drinker, he's an alcoholic. Like, and this has happened multiple times. Most of them are alcoholics, it's turning out. But guys, during the time that you were kidnapped from your original spouse and you married another guy, that means that the actual spouse that you originally had, like your Christ spouse, has had to watch you be with this person or to witness all the trauma that you endured to be broken into a bride for this person. These guys have been made cucks lots of times as a part of the breaking of the original bond that you were like God-given. They wanted you attached to the reptilian husband, so they had to make sure that this one over here hated you, which is a lot of the draconic programming, is making the spouse that you were supposed to have love you, but hate you at the same time, so they treat you badly. So once again, when the other spouse comes around, it's like, oh my gosh, my whole life I was treated bad, and then here you are, my angel. No, ladies, that's a setup. So I'm explaining to him that in order for him to evolve, he's going to have to deal with whatever mom stuff he has going on. And he's going to start to get some gross memories back from the time that he was not himself, that he was a soldier. And y'all know what soldiers are forced to do a lot of times. Most guys do not want those memories back. So even when their soul starts to filter into their body and starts to try to heal that decapitation, that disconnect, they can't take the pain that is finally coming in, so they find something to numb it. That's why the dude that you just swore was like your perfect match is fucked up. He is, but it was done to his soul. And your Reiki energy should in some way, shape, or form line up to heal that, to turn them back or assist them during the process, because they have to make the decision, which was the major gag I got. I'm like, dude, you have a timeline. If Within the next 15 months, by the time this North Node gets to your 22nd degree, if you have not healed your heart, and this is what I had to tell to 11, if you have not healed your heart or fixed what needs to be fixed in your higher heart complex, your player is up for grabs. What does that mean, right? This physical body, and I think y'all need to know, when you have your sun in 12th, your physical body is not on earth. Like you have a player, but that's not your body. That means somebody is literally above you playing you. Your player is outside the game. If by the time that this North Node gets to his 22nd degree, if he has not fulfilled his contract, right, which would allow him to become the healer that he was supposed to be, like the actual being he was supposed to be in Christ and God, then his body is up for grabs. But who does it go to? Check this 22nd degree here. So pretty much he was saying one way or the other, I'm going to get you. Yes, I have a body and a whole character that was meant for you. But in the event that I am unable to get him to lock in, to realize that he's supposed to be there with you, the person that you have been with the whole time will suddenly begin to act a little different, because the consciousness that is running the body will have been swapped. It'll become the other person. Freaky, right? But I feel like I can say this to you guys because you may have been in a case where you're with a guy and he was one way at first and then suddenly it switched later and you don't know what it is. But these bodies are like cars. And depending on the level of spiritual clearance somebody has, they can shift. That gift is known as, and I don't, Bibhuti, right? So I'm going to pull this up here too, just so y'all can see. Fib. Here we go. So the gifts that come along with the Vibhuti, having a strong one in your chart, right? Knowledge of the past and future, understanding of sounds and languages of all beings. Jesus had these gifts. When he would go around and just talk to people of all different races and stuff, even though he didn't know the language, it's because his gift was active. Knowledge of previous existence, invisibility. But the main one I would like to bring you guys attention to is, where are you at? Entering and controlling the bodies of others. So right here, we see 211's wound right next to his Chiron is Vibhuti. Chiron is the wound, the thing that bothers you, that you can't fix, right? Your wounded healer energy. If you have that next to Vibhuti, and I hate saying it like that, like what kind of word is this? Your wound is you swap through different personalities. Different beings are using your body at different times, right? If I go under the other guy's thing, the thing that's bothering him, different versions of himself are using his body at different times. You see this a lot when somebody has alter egos or different names that they call themselves for like different eras. Nah, baby, that's because a different version of yourself has now taken over the consciousness of your body. Now, when you have it in first house, this is especially difficult because it's your physical body. That means you go to sleep as one version of yourself. And let's say this is Zeus, right? You go to sleep as Zeus on your king shit. But the next day you wake up, right? Let me show y'all how cool this is. And I hope I get this ad straight right. Let's see. No, I didn't get that shit right. I'm gonna just have to click it the other way. Hold on. There we go. I was close. All right. You go to sleep as Zeus and you wake up as Pan. Because it's the same guy. Pan is what became of Zeus, but you can see is like right? Uh, after he descended into madness. Pan is most known for his labyrinth. The labyrinth is a maze that other people get stuck in, and Pan drives you insane, right? Because you're stuck in the maze. He only locks you in what he was locked in when he lost love, the insanity of his own mind. Because technically, he lost his psychologist, the person who kept him from going crazy, and just spiraled. So after that, everybody else has to spiral because what happens to all the vampires when the head vampire spirals? That's the easiest way I can explain that to you guys. So every guy who was a divine counterpart has a higher heart complex block. When I went to go, did I leave the YouTube up? When I went to do the unbindings, I stopped on the higher heart one. And this is before I knew all of this. I stopped and I was like, hold on. I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm going to wait to discuss this with him. And sure enough, when I told him, he was like, I'm not doing that because it's going to physically hurt. It's like all the heartbreak that you as a soldier have been, remove the heart walls, clear the heart walls, a deep heart clearing, right? All the pain that you have been avoiding from lifetime after lifetimes will have to come up in some way, shape, or form. Even when I did these, like over a month ago, I was down like a low-key depression just because the stuff has to come up. And notice above that, deprogram your hive mind. Because there are literal implants that have been put on us, different types of programming to make you act against what your godlike or Christ-like self would do. This inverts their halo. I started watching some of those interviews on the guys that I was saying I was going to do. And I got drawn to Neo and guys that were like that. And I'm like, holy shit, that's the programming put on them. That person was meant to be a spouse or a husband or whatever, but they can't open up their heart because of the difficulty. The Holy Spirit, and it says it's a flame that's supposed to be activated, and the flame is going to burn. What I did do was what's called monodad healing, which is under the binding list, right? So can I just type it in here? And of course, it wouldn't pop up there. But it's on the unbinding list. There's one that is meant to bring somebody who is multiple different fragments of other versions of themselves because they've lived so many lives here into union. When that person is able to come into union, the heart chakra turns back on. Their flame starts working. And then it gives them what's known as the diamond heart, an unbreakable heart, a heart that allows them to love others. Every time I read something, because I realized I was sort of dealing with the narcissist, I didn't know it was because he was under programming or nothing. This is the stuff I found out before I got into spirituality. I'm like, oh, he's a narcissist, right? Once that person is healed, their ability to love is as strong as their ability to only be focused on themselves. The person was inverted before. Every time I used to read that narcissist stuff, I was like, you can't tell me that somebody's unhealable. And that's just because my faith in God was really like strong. I sat through like all the videos or read all the books. I was like, okay, so you're telling me that a narcissist is created by somebody who had no choice but to look after themselves as a child. Like they felt like they were the only person that had their back. This is a defense mechanism. There must be some way to disable this. I never looked at them as hopeless, which is why I am the psychologist I am, right? So when the higher heart is activated, it changes everything. You are back in divine union. But boy, in order to get there, is everything going to be tested. So if you have somebody that you feel like is split or damaged in their heart, like you can tell that this is your person, but something is off, this is why. If there's somebody who keeps coming around and you're like, what is it that is supposed to be doing with this person? They feel significant. It is very likely that this person was your original person and they just can't get right because something was put on them. Something was put on them as a block to stop them from going forward. So I want to give you guys sort of some tips. This is going to be like a segment to help you behind these panels understand what is the best way to say this. If you have somebody who is a victim, really, Maya, I'm recording. I'm gonna say perfection chart because it will show up like I wanted to. Here we go. Who is a victim of this programming, right? Understand that it was put on their soul before they met you. It's been on there for thousands of years, right? It was re-triggered in this lifetime in some way, shape, or form so that the programming would kick in. Victimizer is a big one that I noticed. That means something bad happens to you during childhood so that you become a perpetuator of this behavior. It has unfortunately been brought to my attention, like as was the case with 211. If you defeat the first program that's put on you, because they're stacked, a second one would be put on you. And in this case, because he is meant to be like a healer or a speaker or something one day, the second program was the Black Magician one. His original one was victimizer. So pretty much I had to tell him like, hey, you got 15 months to figure out how to open your heart and get right with Jesus. Or just like anybody else who had this done to them, they will descend into Luciferianism. What is that? That is the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. So we are supposed to go through the spiritual journey with the goal of becoming what is called as the compassionate witness. Compassionate witnessing is a natural function of expanded consciousness which occurs during the embodiment of higher spiritual, energetic, intelligent bodies. So when you lock back in with God, you take, and this is a part of that monadic integration where you bring multiple pieces of yourself together into one because you've been living lifetime after lifetime. You have multiple names, multiple energy signatures because you are carrying those from the gods. You are a little piece. You're a demigod, right? When that comes back together and you remember who you are in God, you are able to look at the other ones like, forgive them, Father, for they have sinned. But forgive them, for they know not what they do, right? You don't judge them. What is that? We listen and we don't judge. That's the energy we're supposed to be in. We're supposed to remember you are my brother, you are my sister, you are another part of me. Whatever you're going through, regardless of that, like it's not my place to judge. The law of compassion is the intelligent design of God's infinite compassion for all, right? It is essential to embody a neutral observer consciousness that deflects all judgmental personal views and its attachment to outcome. The power of compassion, directed naturally by the intelligent design of God's living essence when embodied in a divine human that has achieved a neutral observer mode, heals bodies, changes timelines, reveals deceptions, activates the light body, retrieves soul fragments, and connects to the universe's mind, the universal mind's pure genius in order to harmoniously resolve all energetic conflict between parties, intelligently designed to create unification. Its core essence seeks to resolve, reconcile, rehabilitate, and harmonize. I have been sat in this house for 5 years and I couldn't figure out why, because I had to learn to embody the frequency of true love, unconditional love, before I go back out into the world. So I will not call people fools. If you have been put into isolation, that's why. Because otherwise, every person with a closed heart is rigged to spiral into the Luciferian consciousness, guys. So what is that? The negative ego. It's an imposter spirit. It is the opposite of service to others. It's service to self. It's how Inky or Samael You can also call him the son of the dragon, Dracula. What's up, baby? Yes, go ahead. Uh, Originally set everything up here before he developed his own awareness. I think he's still in the process of gaining awareness, but starting to get it. But uh, somebody who only cares about themselves. I would say look at this negative ego page too. So the negative ego, Darwinism comes up, the survival mentality. I'm big, you're small. Just everything that makes one group feel like they deserve more than the others, or it's okay to take from other people. There's no way I could break down this negative ego thing in its completion. Just know that it has to do with you giving into these 7 sins that make you turn away from other people or turn away from the behavior that would send you back to Christ, back to God, right? Everybody has that second program on them. If your heart is broken during this lifetime and you don't heal it, you spiral down, and you spiral down into Luciferianism. The thing that made him who he is the fact that he did not have love. He was created in darkness, created in chaos, without the Christ spark. The Christ spark is love. God is love. Without that energy, you do not care. You do not care about anything but control. And here it comes down as everything that goes along with the Capricorn energy, capitalism. All you care about is getting money. What do I have? What do other people think about what I have? Like just ego stuff, right? So in order to, and I think this is going to be the theme of the new chart readings I'm going to release during April. This is called a perfection chart, right? So everything that we go through, the board game we're on, was set during the first 12 years of our lives. You continue to go in cycles based upon what happened during that first 12 years. I have been noticing lately that a lot of people's Chiron or their original wounds are occurring down here. That means from birth through 7 years old, you're not going to remember that trauma that happened to you. But that is the trauma that keeps getting triggered so that you descend or ascend over and over again. Say, for instance, I had a client who didn't remember, because you can't remember, but her mother started being jealous of her around the time she was 7, like jealous of the attention that her father was giving her. That made her shrink herself because she noticed how mad it would make her mother. She continued to shrink herself all the way around all these times because she didn't realize that was never a part of her initial personality. She was a big, vibrant person, very loving, very caring, very open. In her mind, because now she's older, in her 40s and stuff, right? She's always been closed off. She's always sort of kept to herself doing A, B, C, and D. That is exactly how this programming is meant to mislead you about who you are. You don't remember the majority of what happened that really traumatized you during the first 12 years that changed your personality. So as an adult, you think, oh, that's just always been me. I've always been an old soul, always been allowed, or whatever the case was, whatever your attributes are. But that's not the case. Some of those were adaptations you don't realize that you made that are depressing you. So when you go through your chart and you see that you have like Chiron in second, that means something happened to you when you were 1. You're not going to remember that. But you can look at the chart and sort of get an idea of what it was that messed you up. I spent a good amount of time trying to go around this, and there are so many times I had to cry because I literally did not remember that age. When you don't remember what happened at a certain age, that's because your mind wiped it to survive. It was just so bad that trauma blocked it. Those wounds are the wounds that darkness grows in, that chaos energy, that, and I'm just going to say the inky energy grows in. You cannot be used for evil if there is no hurt in you, which comes along with that compassionate witness thing. If you would have realized that somebody else did something to you because something happened to them and it has nothing to do with you, you can let it go. We are meant to love others like God loves us, which is really hard because we're human, right? But when you realize that this human is only a vehicle and you are a piece of God, God has lent you a little bit of time, of his energy, of his essence to enjoy this experience down here, everything changes. So I had to turn on my alarm again. Uh, Hellenistic healing is what I'm going to be focusing on going forward when I do this next set of charts that I release when I go back to doing reading. I felt like I was done being a reader, but I was being told, like, all right, there might be one run. I would like to help some people uncover the parts of themselves that were never meant to be there in the first place. This is like heavy shadow work because you didn't even know. Personally, in my case, and this is heavy. Should I share this? Trigger warning. There's more trigger warning for myself. So a lot of my trauma occurred fourth house. I did not know that I had a hard time sleeping. I never would have figured it out if I had not seen that Pluto was in my fourth house. That means whatever occurred that traumatized me happened around 3, 4. I can't sleep at night. I've never been able to sleep at night. My mom said she used to have to hold my hand to go to sleep. But I came across this teddy bear, once again, my algorithm, right? And it was a breathing teddy bear. I was like, I'm going to get this. Like, it seems petty, but I feel like I need it. The person that was sleeping with me would wait till I went to sleep to touch me while I was asleep. So the time when I was supposed to be getting regulated and used to somebody like breathing next to me and relaxing, that was violated. Now, keep in mind, I could never remember this, but I haven't been able to sleep since, well, clearly since 3. I didn't know. Like anybody who tries to walk on me while I'm asleep, I just automatically pop up. I thought I was not sleeping this whole time, but I was not allowing myself to fully go into REM because this continued for years. When I get the teddy bear, it's supposed to be me resetting myself so I get used to sleeping comfortably without anybody touching me or anybody sneaking in my room and stuff. And trying to think about a 3-year-old having to deal with that is the saddest thing in the world. I remember I would watch videos on different stuff, and everything in this place tries to remind you of what you need to heal, even if you don't know you need to heal from it. So I would sometimes see videos where it would be like little girls who were recovering from abuse and they'd have to be in a special home, but they would have to like punch pillows to get out their anger from being sexual assaulted and stuff. And I would always get emotional watching and not understanding, oh, all that stuff is backed up in your subconscious. That's the type of stuff that is coming out while this North Node is in Pisces. The things you don't remember, the things you need to clear. Because darkness cannot enter where there is something, where there is no vibrational match, is the best way for me to say this to you. You cannot be used as a pawn for evil or darkness or chaos if you have uncovered yours. That is the importance of shadow work. So, Killapoth, right? And we're getting closer to the end, y'all, but y'all needed this tea, and I don't want to rush it because somebody is going to sit through this video, and whoever comments and sits through it is going to make me feel so much better that I just had to say all this, but led by faith, not sight, right? So, Killapoth are NPC people. I know, because of that dude with the little mustache, everybody hates this theory. It's not a freaking theory, and I wish there was another way I can like. But Killapoth are shells, husk, right? They are like filler people. You have those of us who are connected to divine beings. Technically, if you're connected to the fallen, you are part Nephilim. You came from that line. You came from the seed of the snake, right? And then there are others who came from Adam. But then there are those who are soulless, who were born into this place just to be bodies that could be filtered through. What's a good way to put this? I got bullied at every school I went to. I did not understand why that happened. I'd be excited when I was going to another school because I'm like, all right, new people, they won't bother me. The spirits that were gang stalking me, and you can look this term up too. Gang stalking is when a particular spiritual group that you cannot see has decided that you are a targeted individual. You are the one that they're going to make your life living hell, right? That group would just go through the Killapoth people and mess with me at every school. Gosh, that would have made such a difference if I had known that earlier in life, right? So I'm up here like, all right, Killapoth, not everybody's real. Some people are just filler people. Oh, Agent Smith. You notice how there'd be people around all the time, but when Agent Smith needed somebody to mess up what the resistance was doing. He would just hop in another body and mess stuff up. That is exactly what the kilopath is. One of the people who are playing their role on auto. So I'm like, kilopath. They come from the tree of death, right? And I was like, hold on, tree. I'm like, Pinocchio, the Pinocchio asteroid. Because as I was explaining earlier, Pinocchio developed a consciousness. He was not born with one. You can be born from chaos. You can be born from the darkness and still develop a soul through learning lessons, just like Pinocchio. So I'm like, I can't say to use the Pinocchio asteroid for that because it also means to lie or where you lie, depending on different factors, if you're at a low vibration or a high vibration. So I ended up looking, and it's still here, the Pinocchio word meaning. Pinocchio means pine wood, pine eye. And I was like, from the tree. So if somebody has a strong Pinocchio, there's a very, very serious chance that they could be kilopath. That this person was here to shake things up for you. So I'm entering Pinocchio, right? And I'm going to switch to mine because when I did this, I was like, oh, that's why I had to start doing readings, right? My Pinocchio was at the same degree as my Reiki and my 21st degree, Saturn, right? My contract, unbeknownst to me this whole life, has been to use my healing energy to wake up those who were kilopath, those who were sleeping, those who were dormant. That's kind of what I do with you guys, and it's the house of teaching. When I tried to translate it in my head, myself was like, you have the gift of the blue fairy. You can bring Pinocchios to life. You can give them consciousness by giving them knowledge of themselves. And I'm like, that's sort of freaking cool. But it makes sense because what do I do in these sessions with you guys all this time? So you can use this Pinocchio asteroid. I'm going to say use it in the Draco, at your own discretion. Because a Pinocchio can come to life. Or he could be somebody meant to lead you astray. Notice that 211's Pinocchio was next to his Jupiter at the first degree. So Jupiter at the first degree means the embodiment of that Zeus energy, right? But the Pinocchio part means a wooden version, a not real, a not their version, temporarily, because the fifth degree is a temporary degree. Eventually, his physical look is going to change. He won't even be wearing the essence that he's been wearing this whole time I knew him, because that was only a glamour just to like bait me in. I used to call him an anglerfish, and I couldn't figure out what that meant, but yourself is always trying to tell you stuff, even when you can't remember. So to round this all out, guys, right? So the Pinocchio thing came through, and then I was rerouted to Final Destination Bloodlines. And the trailer dropped this week, y'all. I was like, hold on. So guys, I explained that there is going to be, for lack of a better word, a reaping season, a harvest, a time where a large amount of deaths would occur back to back, maybe in different ways. But Final Destination Bloodlines. The club is closing. Earth games are coming to an end. Everybody that still has a Saturn contract that they have not completed is up for grabs. Your Saturn contract sometimes is not yours. It can be put on up to 3 or 4 generations away from the first person who originally took the contract. So if your great-great-grandmother made a deal with Moloch, right, the one who wants babies, that eventually in another incarnation, they would give up their firstborn, suddenly 3 or 4 generations later, you go to have your first son and you have a miscarriage. It's because grandma put a contract on your head that is a bloodline contract. Anybody who is, oh, and I hate saying this, but it's been on my mind, and I just gotta tell y'all, anybody who is kilopath is technically bloodline of the son of the dragon, right? The snake. When the club closes, all the badness has to be wiped out. All the evil has to be wiped out. This is like when the place got flooded. I have no idea how it's going to happen this time. But if you are a conduit for that reptilian, Martian, draconian evil, if you are over 51% service to self, and I didn't make this rule up, this is in there somewhere. If you are service to self and not humanity, your contract is possibly up for grabs. That's what that North Node going through Pisces is doing. It's actually saying the dealer is calling like game over. Can I say that? It is game over though. But the house is calling back all its money, all its energy, because at the end of the game, they have to be put away for 1,000 years. The bad guys get put away, and then everybody recovers and gets back into their Christ energy before you make a decision if you would like to enter into the next Earth game of duality. A lot of people's bloodline contracts will be called in during this time, and some of those people will be kilopath, like they overpopulated the planet so that they could chop it down and they'd have enough negative energy to survive on the other side of the veil during the 1,000 years where everybody else is left to enjoy paradise Earth. I think it's called Tara. Hold on, let me see. There are multiple versions of Earth, right? We are on the one called Earth. I'm like, there's a name for all of them. Okay, and it's not telling me what the name is here, but we will be moving into the 5th, right? That's when it's being cleared, when we're starting to rise into the new vibration and the negatives are being cleared out, for a lack of a better way to say this. I'm so sorry. We're totally going to have a war that's going to happen. And I think that's how it's going to get cleared out a lot. But when everything is actually cleared and we are without the adversary on our ass for 1,000 years, like it was in the beginning, that'll be a 7D version where you'll be able to create with your mind and go back to sort of how it was in Atlantis. But for right now, you're going to be seeing the best of Earth and the worst of Earth exist at the same time, because that's what the 5D sort of is. It's showing you the best of both worlds, or the best and the worst thing. Right? So y'all were assisting me with understanding Lord of the Rings. Because I was like, oh, I'm supposed to watch Lord of the Rings. Like Tupac of the Rings done popped up on my shit after I realized I was supposed to watch it, right? So I go to look up Lord of the Rings. You see this on Wednesday, February 26th, right? When I typed in Lord of the Rings, everything that popped up was Sauron. And I was like, okay, so maybe I need to watch his story. Y'all, please know I've been put through a lot in my life, as y'all can tell. When I figured it out, I hollered, but hollered in the way that I laughed because this is hilarious. The first video I watched was this one right here. Y'all mean to tell me y'all all sat through 50 million hours of watching Lord of the Rings and y'all ain't figure out who the Lord of the Rings was? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. I hollered. I cackled listening to that story. So, one ring to rule them all. After I figured it out, I was like, yo, so what's the ring? Or what rings does that one ring rule? Would y'all believe that every one of these dudes or dudettes that has one of these rings, right, that signed up and took that oath, that joined that gang, was just rejoining the gang they had already joined as a part of Inky's army. So when this guy, whose goal is to enter a human body and walk the earth, because all he ever wanted was what he saw the humans have, a chance at life, right? Every person who joined his cult that didn't understand fully, I don't think they understood that one day there will be a dude that had one ring that is able to mind control everybody in his hive, steps onto the earth, all of those guys are going to follow him. How many Masons do y'all think there are? Just how many lodges do you see around? So when you see that there is a new world order where it's supposed to be one person that sort of puppeteers the rest of the world, it's because one ring to rule them all, with the rings that were passed out to humans who are easily manipulated by wealth and power, was this ring, the one with the all-seeing eye on it. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. Because when you focus on something, and this was new to me. I sort of understood, but I wasn't sure. You are honing in on that entity or that being's signature, right? So when I asked, like, hey, what does that ring mean? I sort of tapped into that field, right? So I explain to you guys all the time, and I looked it up just so I can show y'all Mortal Kombat, right? I show y'all Mortal Kombat as the example for how we move up. You go through different challenges. I was just showing y'all on that wheel. There are 12 cycles. At the end of every cycle, there's a mini boss in each house, right? But there's a big one at the top. When you are channeling or you are tapping into entities or you are tapping into information, it doesn't matter. Everything has a frequency. When you are trying to tap into the information, you are creating a cord between you and that thing. So as soon as, learn the hard way, as soon as my simple ass decided to tap into this right here, that's how I got the response about what the rings control. Now the problem was, I'm like, hold on. I got a message back from that. I could not make this shit up. So you have to climb the tower, guys. You climb the tower through consciousness. Every notch, let me pull this up in an easier way. So every notch, you move up in knowledge and you integrate more of source energy, which is consciousness, self-awareness, that gets you to that area of compassion up here on the spiral that leads you back home. You become a, how's the best way to put this? The group is smaller as you move up. So everybody starts right here on the Malkuth. That's Earth. Lilith rules that on the dark side. Everybody starts here. As you move up through different things based upon your frequency and what you're drawn to. So if you become narcissistic, you might get stuck in the beauty tier. You never move past that. If you get stuck being a masochist, is that the, no, if you're a sadist, you get stuck in the pillar of severity. Not only do you like difficult consequences, but you like causing them for other people, you get stuck over there. Wherever you are, you're a vibrational match. What I did by tapping into the Lord of Rings, unbeknownst to myself, because I've been sitting over here, understanding, right? Right across from the Jesus pit, right? I tapped into the crown. When you tap into the crown, when you start seeking God, you're going to get God's evil twin. And I hate to even say evil twin now, because that's not me being compassionate, but evil is anti-life. It's literally live backwards. They're just trying to survive is the way to explain that. Everything on the tree of death separated from God and is just trying to survive by eating vampirically off of things on the tree of life. So when I tapped into the crown, I'm like, hey, God, what's this Sauron thing? Right? When you ask God for revenge, you don't get God. You don't ask God for revenge. This is God that loves everything. You're going to get Saturn. You're going to get Sauron. You're going to get Satan, because that's the opposite. It's like the left and the right hand. One is punishment and one is redemption. When you don't listen to dad, sometimes he has to turn around and be bad dad. You got good cop, bad cop, right? So how many people do you think make it up to the crown? How many people actually go through the trouble of peeling themselves apart to get to God? The group gets smaller and smaller the frequency is less frequent as you go up. Few people will go past Jesus. Like they'll just sit there and be like, Jesus is enough. He is the blood of the lamb, which is also a trap. You're supposed to seek God. Otherwise, you just keep coming back and worshiping Jesus, just giving your energy there. But that's a whole nother video. So tapping into God, your final boss is like the Wizard of Oz. And you can get a message when you get to that level, right? So my mind has been blown. I am actually going to post this here as my next post that goes along with this. That was everything I had to talk about in this video, guys. As you seek God, you will face the devil. And you will have to realize that quite possibly everything you've been taught was a lie. I went and typed in the Sauron thing because I like to go back through my notes and see if there's anything I forgot or didn't notice, because I'll screenshot everything. But this is what popped up. Notice they're on two different lines. It is my theory, and we'll see how this goes, that this is working like the Wizard of Oz. God is a big field of energy. Satan, the Saturn, the devil, whatever you want to call it, is a big field of energy. Michael is God's avatar. And you can call Satan or Lucifer, whatever you want to call him, the devil's avatar. But they are two sides of the same coin. You are being tested. At the end of the day, if Lucifer were to heal himself and put love inside of his body, he would become Michael, because he is only the shadow of Michael in the first place. Nothing exists without God, but those things who decided to separate themselves believe that they are their own entity. They created themselves. They came out of nowhere, not realizing that they are a clone of a blueprint of something else. But if they were able to get God back in them, then that memory would return to them. So say Michael came down here and started acting up, right? He then becomes Zeus, which is Jupiter, which is what? The son of God. Right up in this area. That's sort of like the same story, right? Except for in this case, all of God's children locked him behind some gates and decided they were going to run amok in the palace. That's a whole nother storyline. I'm going somewhere here. But that's my theory right now, guys. That's all the tea I have on the Martian energy at this time. Just know that anybody whose heart is unhealed or trying not to heal or stuck in their ways, it's not just because of them. There's a rhyme, there is a reason for everything. And as we can see via astrology, there is a blueprint for every person in every storyline. And you can see those. There's even this thing called, let me go over here, a persona chart, right? Because I feel like this is going to help somebody out. A persona chart is the natal chart for each planet. So if you go to somebody's Saturn, it is going to tell you the storyline of their Saturn. How did they end up with this contract? How did they get here in the first place? So the sixth house is the house of debt. The debt was placed on what? Your Venus. The Venus is at the 13th degree, that's self. Notice how that Draco is still in first. The contract's to be a soldier. And look, 13th degree is the Venus. 13th degree Pinocchio. Your value was in being a wooden soldier and having to accomplish what was there to accomplish? Because the actual Saturn's at the 0th degree, to clear. Okay, that's pretty good. So the Saturn is to clear all debt and get a new contract for freedom. You see that 0th degree lined up with the 0th degree for seraphim. So seraphim, 838, by the way, because a lot of you are going to need these. Seraphim are the original angels that work for God. Like they sing all day. They're musical. Those were some of the first that were bound because like he's in charge of music. But your seraphim rights were taken from you. Your voice was taken from you. There's probably a throat chakra block too. So his contract this whole time was to clear the board and get back his angel status. But he had to play a role first and make it through. So, children of God, this is, I hope, the longest video I ever have to make. And the most in-depth I ever have to explain anything. Because, oh my goodness. Oh, I forgot. Hold on. One last thing I gotta show y'all. So this whole time I've been over here like explaining to you guys that we are now indivisible. This is Bae. This is my lover. Right? I was really bothered after that whole like kitten thing. I'm like, what is it about this Kindle? I'm like, hold on, does the Kindle have a chart? Is this an object in the game? Technically, everything has a vibration, has a frequency, right? I made a chart for my Kindle based upon when I brought it, when it was delivered, when I opened it, just to show how this universe is a smart ass. Who is running the stories that is coming through my kin? Here, the third degree is a Gemini degree. The messages and the books and everything were meant to be triggering my memory. Why? Because where am I being directed by Kim? Towards Pan. Thought y'all might find that amusing. Yes, yes, I really did make a chart for my Kindle because I was bothered. And the ascendant is at the third degree. So everything around you guys is trying to help you reclaim your memory. Remember why you're here, what hobby you're a part of, where you fucked up, who's been fucking with you, all that. I just have been blessed and cursed with the ability to read these things because my job is to be a teacher who helps others find consciousness, particularly the killer path or the damage. You cannot be used or abused or collected by the legal rights of Satan if there is no malice in your heart. Forgive. That's the biggest thing. If you want to make it through this game, if I had to say anything, because once, hold on, I gotta show y'all this. Can't give y'all a half-ass message. This is my regular chart, right? Make this smaller. This is the finish line. Your ascendant is the finish line. Please note where my sun is. I have been waiting at the finish line or making it to the end of that Mortal Kombat thing for thousands of years. I ain't beat boss mode yet, y'all. And it was very alarming once I tapped into that Sauron thing to realize he remembers me. I was like, no, what's going on? So one of the messages that came through, and it came through another reader, I saved the video, was lead as many to the light as you can. The rest are mine. That's the literal message that came out of that lady's mouth. And I knew, oh my goodness. So I will continue to do my job here. I understand now why a lot of times I feel more drawn to do the collective messages than my individual ones. Clarity will come one day if you don't have it now. But guys, just do whatever's been put on you to do because there is a reason, there is a rhyme, there is a design. Forgive when you don't understand. Love like God loves you because that's the only way home out of Pan's labyrinth. That's what the spiral thing is. Remember yourself and you'll remember you are a piece of God, and all of this is merely a dream. Have a good day, guys.